Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Dr. Ekuru Okot on my far right is the Third Way Alliance Party leader. Good morning, Dr.
Morning, Ayub.
Lovely having you. Much to talk about this morning here on the broadcast. Thanks. Senator Dan Manzo, Makueni County, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. We'll talk more about your motion, and also Senator Eddie Oke joins us here on the broadcast this morning, who represents the county of Migori. Gentlemen, your time is all appreciated and welcome here on the broadcast and on the state of the nation this morning. Let's begin with a look at what has been happening since Tuesday. I'm sure this outweighs what happened in Parliament, and it's on the registration and the transition to the Social Health Authority across the country. Yesterday, there were reports that patients endured a medical crisis of unspeakable horror. The up-to-date NHIF cards had been disabled, while the new healthcare plan, the Social Health Insurance Fund, is yet to take off, according to the papers, due to the rollout glitches and the experiences Kenyans have had. The transition meant to safeguard Kenyans' health and ease of their suffering has instead left them stranded and in pain. You can read more on the pages of the publications. Dr. Ekuru Okot, coming to you. Seems that the country is losing the focus from the other pressing problems, other than focusing on the business before Parliament.
So just for the record, Ayub, I don't know whether you guys can zoom.
Yeah. I
have filled in what I think looks like a ballot to remove Deputy President Gachagua from office. I've even commented that it's a complete waste of time.
So you want to zoom it in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there are two parliamentarians here, and Dan Mahanzo has accepted to deliver this ballot on my behalf to the Senate today. It's a complete waste of time. Now, you know, if there's anybody to be impeached in this country, it is President William Ruto. Because now Kenyans have forgotten. Nobody wants to talk about the promises of 2022, that will fix your problems. We've been in government, so we know where your problems are. Gachagua's impeachment is inconsequential to the problems that this country is facing. Talking about the attempted sale, a fraudulent sale of our airport to a crook called Adani, who's been banned in many countries, being investigated. You know, the collapse of the healthcare, the supply of energy, unemployment in Kenya. If you look at the newspaper today, we have got Kenyans stuck in Lebanon. They say they are homeless. We have got many, the problems are so humongous that honestly, if you weigh the problems Kenyans are going through on a daily basis, vis-a-vis this attempted impeachment of Gachagua, and look at the reasons they are advancing. Tribalism. Is there any politician today, especially those who come from their native counties, and I use the word native counties, because they actually rely heavily on their tribal mobilization. Eddie Gishero Okechia will not vie in Nairobi. He has to crawl back to Migori, because in Migori, he has a constituency which is really supportive of him. Even Dan Mahanzo, my good friend here, you know, I have to go to Makueni, because then he has to speak to the Kamba people. You know, perhaps the only person who actually looks nationalistic is Ekuru Okot, because I said to vie for the presidency. I never relied heavily on the true kind of vote, because I know, even if I'm elected as president of this country, I'm looking at Kenya nationally. So when they advance reasons like tribalism, if there's anybody actually who has benefited immensely from tribal mobilization, it's actually the head of state, right from as early as 1992. And we have to speak about this. So picking Gachagua and saying Gachagua is mobilizing on tribe and those other things, like I'm looking at undermining devolution, undermining the president. I'm really hoping that senators will be very sober when this motion comes to them, and they should really look at the evidence and whether it's even worth it. You know, as a lawyer, I would have moved even a motion to strike it out. I would have actually raised a preliminary objection that this is a complete waste of time, as I put it in my ballot. And you can see the choreography. The nation, you know, the newspapers are being used. This is a sponsored lynching. And I'm not defending Gachagua. I'm not saying, is Gachagua only, when you say that he has accumulated so much wealth, come on. In the last term, I think, was it the last term or first term of Jubilee administration, we were told that we were going to do lifestyle audit. That Uhuru himself even said it will start with me, then it will start with my deputy. Have we seen that come to light? Nope. So if the idea is, let's now list the wealth of everyone, the same way we now know of cabinet secretaries, what they own, can we also now be told, Manzo, how worth are you? Eddie Gachagua, Okech, how worth are you? You know, and everybody else. And then let Kenyans now decide whether these people are even worth being our leaders to begin with.
Senator Manzo, a lot is happening. There's the Integrated Health Information Technology System for the Social Health Authority at 104 billion Kenya shillings. Justifications were not provided for why the government went for direct procurement, yet the law says competitive bidding is given a priority. There is the Adani deal that we have talked about, and the deliberate overlooking of the government's own contracted farm, which had listed some of the issues it will undertake, and way better than what Adani had proposed. Yesterday, many Kenyans had endured pains, and out-of-pocket expenditure continues to grow because of the problems with the new Social Health Authority. I mean, are the country's policy players losing the focus on the most important issues that are of concern to the public, other than what's happening in Parliament?
Yes, I want to agree with you that they've lost focus. While you invest 104 billion on some system, there is no medicine at all in any single hospital in Kenya. So do you first send the money to the counties to buy medicine for Kenyans, or do you come up with something which is, first of all, segregative and constitutional and only helps a certain class of Kenyans? So the country has lost direction completely. You know, they are pretending we are going to expand the airports so that more tourists can come to a country. How do tourists go to a country which is unsettled, which has disappearances, which has kidnapping, which has no rule of law, which tourists in their right thinking will pay their money to come to such a country? So first we must get the country right before you invest. And you see, what is the expanding of the airport? Just building a runway, which is just like a road. So are you telling us an Indian has to come and build a road for us? Kenyans have serious engineers here. And again, there was no proper, checking to confirm intelligence on this particular individual, who in fact is largely thought to be already bankrupt out of the many cases he has all over the world and the many failed projects in the world. Now you bring us such a defective person to come and become part of the corruption in Kenya. So there is so much corruption in the country, and so much pretense, and so many lies being told to the people. So I'm urging Kenyans now to be smarter than they have ever been, to be more awake than ever been, because every single Kenyan in this country who goes to a county hospital is in a lot of trouble. There's no medication. The devolution money has been reduced by the president himself, and the president himself is killing devolution personally. And therefore, if you kill devolution, then what constitution do you stand for? So there is a bigger problem than you can see. And more important, you cannot reduce the monies going to the counties. Now on the Gachagua one, this is just a big joke. There's nobody in Kenya who is not guilty of tribalism. What is happening is that, and I don't think they've thought of it very carefully, what is happening is mob justice on Gachagua. If it is his wealth, he should just fill up his wealth declaration and be given an opportunity to explain. You know, Gachagua was always wealthy. We were in parliament with him. I know quite a number of properties they owned even before he became deputy president. The only thing he's accused of by the MPs, and Kenyans must now lynch the MPs. The only thing he's accused of, there is money which is given to him, which is supposed to be a secret budget. Confidential? Yeah, confidential budget. Let's call it a secret. Now, this confidential budget...
But it is in every office.
Yes, now, this confidential budget, the MP is expected Gachagua to be calling them every Friday to give them something. This is what he's being accused of. So, the House is just wasting our time. The parliament is lynching Gachagua. Let Kenyans also lynch parliament. Kenyans should deal with every single member of parliament when it comes to the next voting, so that you go back to the people, they tell you, you never went to represent us, you went to terrorize an individual. And even the bigger question is this: remove Gachagua. You are promising Kindiki to become the next deputy president. Now, Eddie and the company are saying, no, the deputy president should now be Raila Odinga. I've heard it from members of ODM.
That's a fact.
Now, it's a fact. Because now Ramaphosa has said, look, the whole of SADC, we are gone. So Raila Odinga's chances at AU are almost zero now. Well. So you have to to make him deputy. Now we have removed Gachagua.
Yeah. Okay.
How are you going to appoint the next deputy president?
Okay.
Why are we doing things likely to cause strife into the country? Then you sit down somewhere and pretend that we are going to have tourists in the country.
They are going to the bread-based government.
Senator Eddie.
Good morning, Ayub.
Morning to you.
And thank you to our viewers who have tuned in this morning. This is a very important conversation. I wouldn't be tempted in any way to trivialize it. It's a very important conversation that will define our country for many years. And therefore, I won't be excited about it. I've handled a number of impeachment in the Senate. This is not the only impeachment that is coming at this season. There is
one more now that Dr. Eric Mutai has been impeached.
Yeah, from Kericho. But before I make a comment, would you, because this is a very senior legislator, Manzo is not some small leader in this country. Can you give the nation the evidence and the honest truth where I sat with him and talked with him about
not you. I said ODM members and the company.
And who are they?
This is on media.
And who are they? Who are the ODM party members who told you?
Before he says that, he says Eddie and company have advocated for Raila Odinga to be the deputy president. I want him to tell the nation where Eddie said that.
Okay, can I just pause you for a moment?
Because that's very important for me, for my integrity.
You'll make your submissions. Yes, Honorable Dan Manzo, who are the specific ODM party members?
I want to say...
Can you apologize to me?
I apologize to Eddie.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
You're quoting who?
Kaluma. But Kaluma is in the company.
No, I don't want him to... No.
You can also quote me.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you something, Ayub. This country, leaders must take the people seriously, especially elected leaders, because we should not come on TV and just make some cantankerous statements. We have people to lead, and the moment we look like we are confused all the time and we're saying things that don't make sense, we are actually disappointing the people. Number one, Ayub, I said this when I was on this station about 3 days ago, and I was very clear that the matter of impeachment is both a political and a legal process, okay? To the extent that, as somebody who sits in the Senate, I expect that as a judge, I do not be tempted to have prejudice over any matter that is brought before me. Whether in the opinion of a regular citizen like a Kuro Court, who is not elected, whether his opinion is that this matter is not important or this matter is important, the responsibility given to Dan Manzo, Senator of Makwini, and myself is that we are going to sit as judges over what is going to appear legally as a matter between Deputy President of this country and the National Assembly. So therefore, I cannot start having my prejudices. I cannot follow the bad manners of some leaders, like maybe even the speakers of the National Assembly, who pronounce themselves in public, and now also Dan Manzo is joining them in that bad manners.
No.
Let me tell you,
let him finish.
Can you stop echoing? When you were speaking, I was very quiet.
Okay.
In 2014, there was a case called Wambura 2, when the governor, Wambura, was impeached by the Senate. When that case went to Court of Appeal, I'm telling you, that case was quashed on a simple reason of Senator Boni Alwale then making public pronouncements on a case that he was going to officiate over. So that bad manners must stop. What we need to discuss, especially for the two of us, as judges who are going to sit before this matter and are going to look at what the National Assembly has presented, is the process that will lead us there and maybe the political impact of such actions in the country. That's what is important at this moment. And that process, for me, Dr. Kuro Kota
Maybe I would like to correct you.
No, you will. I don't give people the mic. I will give you the mic. That process is articulated in the Constitution. Number one, the impeachment of a governor and the deputy governor is articulated very clearly under Article 181 of the Constitution. The charges are very clear, and then the process of that impeachment is articulated that the National Assembly will prescribe a law to determine how that should go. The impeachment of a deputy president, however, is under Article 150 of the Constitution. Under that article, there is no any further law to be written about this impeachment. It's very clear on what is supposed to be done. Now, if you look at the charges for impeachment for a deputy president, and Ekuru is a lawyer and is a very good friend of mine, and we have a lot of conversations, he will tell you, and a drafter, he will tell you that the case is going to be looked on a balance of probability. Because it's not a criminal matter. It's most likely a proper, and actually the Constitution does talk about incapacitation versus impeachment. It's only in the court of law that we always go with any pronouncement that this is beyond reasonable doubt. So because of that, what we rely on as senators is Article 125 of the Constitution, where under Article 151B, where there is some criminal charges or some bit of those criminal charges, then we can be able to rely on Article 125 of the Constitution, which actually allows Parliament to sit as a high court, right? Not just as a mere house of deliberations. So those are the indices that we're going to be able to use legally to be able to charge on this matter. But in the merit and demerit of the charges that have been put before us, we will be very, very wrong as senators to start prosecuting it in the media when it is coming in the House.
Today is a day of public participation.
Eddie,
we cannot do public participation today.
Eddie, you made a fundamental question about leadership.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Now, the question actually that's on the table, and I think that's where we started with Ayub, is this really the pressing issue for the country? Because you as leaders, and Maazu here has admitted that the House has actually failed Kenyans, you know? Maybe we should be talking about dissolving the entire House. Let's go back to a fresh election and dissolve government so that now Kenyans can actually say, okay, where is this country heading? Because that's a point, a very, very strong point that you make. Where is the country heading?
Yes.
With this kind of shenanigans that we're being treated to. Our national airport has been sold to a crook. The healthcare system has collapsed. There are Kenyans stuck in Lebanon. There are all these problems you can see. You know, we have got a national debt. Where is the leadership in this country? Is the leadership in this country today, when you have got these 200, is it 209 something?
Yeah.
Members of parliament?
291.
91, who have actually signed this motion. Honestly, is Gachagua a pressing issue in this country? For me, we are looking at a crisis of leadership in this country and a failure.
Okay.
You know?
Can I answer this, Ayub? Because he has asked directly to me.
Senator, let me put this to you, because he raised a very fundamental point. And I did yesterday also put this to my panelists, and we'll be going on a break when you respond to this.
Yes.
By yesterday, there were more than 9,000 Kenyans on dialysis who are uncertain about whether they will get treatment or not.
Yes.
The number for chemotherapy could be more or less. More than 46,000 teachers have been told to reapply by the Teacher Service Commission. In the ended financial year, the government spent 6 billion more on travels alone, according to the control of budget. You have a secret deal with Adani that, were it not for the media, then shadowy characters who are milking off taxpayers' money. You have a healthcare system that will be set up at a cost of 104 billion through direct procurement. The law says competitive bidding. You have 132 Kenyans who are missing. Per interior CS, Professor Kithure Kindiki, 40 plus killed. Fertilizer subsidy scandal, which will threaten our food security. Should Parliament have turned its attention on these pressing problems, then Gachagua, who we may admit has made deeply misleading or statements that are untrue, but clearly are outweighed by these issues that are concerned for the millions of Kenyans?
Exactly.
That's a good question. And as a legislator, I'm forced to ask myself, in this, where we find ourselves, this Kenya at crossroads, that's what I would say, where we find ourselves, is there any matter that is not important? All these matters are important.
Priority.
Isn't.
Priority.
So let me just
Senator
finish.
Manzo.
You know, I didn't know that Senator Manzo can be a heckler. Because when he's in the Senate, he's very good. You see what is happening. What is happening?
Apparently, they are all in Azimio, and they have come to echo the other.
I don't usually echo because I am.
Please finish your point.
Yeah, I'm saying this, Ayub.
Yeah.
All these issues are important because if you were to go to the Constitution, all of them are articulated. The author of the Constitution, right, is seated here. He's trying to tell me that Article 150 of the Constitution can be suspended under Article 40 of the Constitution.
I never said that.
That's the implication of what you're saying. You are saying that if a matter of a deputy president impeachment has been brought before you, and there are some economic issues that are difficult under Article 40 of the Constitution, suspend Article 150 for the purposes of Article 40. That's not how the countries run. Because every single issue that comes in a country is an important issue, especially when it is expressly put in the Constitution. I can tell you for a fact that in the Senate that I sit in, we have tried to be very sober, by the way. I think that there are two houses here that you must look at. The National Assembly, which I'm not trying to put any prejudice on the National Assembly, but as we speak right now, there is a resolution before the head of state, the president, that was done by senators right in the middle of the violence that we saw that was meted on protesters from June 25th. I don't know that I could have taken time to read that resolution. That resolution, first of all, was pushed by the majority leader of the Senate, who is a member of the current government. And when that motion was pushed...
You're also a member of the current government.
No, I'm not, my friend. Like,
after bread...
but focus. Ekuru, you're a very smart lawyer, but today you're cantankerous. You see, the thing is, if you look at that resolution, and I want to invite Ekuru to go and read that resolution. In that resolution, the Senate of Kenya made pronouncements around number one. The young people who are affected by this conflict in terms of killings by the police must be compensated. In that resolution, all the issues that the Gen Z movement wanted to be undertaken must be taken care of. As a senator who voted on, who supported that motion in the floor of the House and who participated in the writing of that resolution, I want those Gen Zs compensated. I want the issues of the jobs that the Gen Zs want to be solved, to be done. Should we suspend that resolution of the Senate that is with the president for the purpose of only focusing on Adani?
Thank you.
Adani is important. SHIF, which I'm going to tell you some of the realities of SHIF, is important that we discuss. But every single matter that is in the country right now has got equal importance under the Constitution of Kenya.
So, Dr. Ekuru, let's hit the break, come back, and I'll start with you and Senator Maz as well.
I need to have a rejoinder on that.
Because there are other important issues as well, including yesterday's disowning of the plan to increase the term limit for MPs and the President by Senator Samson Cherargei, which I'm sure Dr. Ekuru will qualify as a diversionary tactic from the main pressing issues here in the country, being a drafter, one of the drafters of Katiba 2010, and how Kenyans have endured the pain as the country transitioned to the Social Health Authority and the uncertainties across the country, including what the government has termed as the teething problem, but appears to be having an impact on Kenyans who yesterday had to spend out of pocket for their kin to get medical attention here in the country. More here on the broadcast after the break. Stay tuned.